Okay, welcome back to another on-base baseball video. My name is Brian Hafferkamp, and I'm the designer, creator of On-Base Baseball. I've had a question about exactly how to use the roster sheets, and specifically the decade roster sheets that I've been uh, putting out here lately. Right now we have the 60s, the 1970s, 80s, and 90s. And what it is, it's every single player who played in a game, whether it's a hitter or a pitcher, in that decade. So it's a lot of data, and it comes as this sort of sheet here. You can see I've got a couple of different batter sheets that I printed out, and this is really just a couple of teams worth, and then I have the pitchers as well. What we're going to do is we're going to play a game between Pittsburgh and San Diego. This game is from April 26, 1989. I downloaded this score sheet off of digidugout.com, digital dugout. It's called Digi dugout.com. And you can find any as played lineups from last year and on. And it's already pre-filled for you, which is great. And it's got some extras on here as well with the bullpen and the bench, so you can sort of lay that out there for who's available and who you want to be able to bring in and stuff like that. It does have some spaces. That's why I like this one. It has some spaces here. What's it called? It's called, they're not always easy to read. So position, and this one is error, arm, run, and range, I believe is this one here. It's kind of hard to read the letters because they're in bold, but you can lay out your pitchers. You got places for pinch hitters. You can use these if, like, we don't have those things in on-base baseball, but what we do is we have 3 columns, and batting runs, defense, and speed. So I just sort of repurpose these, and then you've got all your all of your innings here. The line scores in the middle. It's got both teams on the page at once. It already lays out who the starters are in the game, and so I really like these a lot, and they're easy to sort of get into a game and just play a game. So these roster sheets are perfect for as played games, just like this. You've got guys who are in the game. Maybe some of these are starters. Maybe in a random game, a guy came up from AAA for 3 games and then went back down. That guy is going to be on the score sheet. As long as he got into a game, he will actually be on the roster sheets. Not the score sheet, but the roster sheet. Excuse me. So that's the beauty of the decade roster sheets, is that everybody who got into a game, if the guy came in and pitched a third of an inning, he's on the roster sheet. So it's perfect for the as played people. The gamer who likes to have every single person, and when that person came in, you want to recreate the game and you want to bring in all those pitchers, that pitcher is going to be on there. And what I've done on the score sheet is the roster sheet is I've included batting runs, defense, and speed. So you have the 3 main values that you need to use for on-base baseball. You have their team, obviously their name, and then these are sort of your baseline advanced stats here, your sabermetric stats. And then starting with the games, these are sort of your counting or your normal stats. So you get their home runs and RBIs, how many games they played in, how many at-bats they had. You have their weighted runs created plus, and also their WOBA. If you want to go by OPS, you have their OPS here. And for each team, you can see here that it's Miguel Garcia for the Pirates. He only had 1 at bat, but he had 1 hit, so he's batting 1,000. in 11 games. So he's getting in mostly as a defensive replacement, or to run the bases. I'm not sure. Probably not to run the bases with the 0.1 speed. So defensive replacement. And so you can sort of glean those things from each of these players. So you get down in your at bats, 279. That's the first one, and that's going to be Gary Redus. And so Redus, um, a 2.4 WAR in minimal duty, 141 runs created plus. His WOBA is 371, so he played really well in the time that he got in. Probably as a speed guy, he's a 7.8 speed, but also had decent batting runs that year. And then the next one's Bobby Bowe, and you can see he's a 4.3 WAR. Down here you see Bonds, but then here's this guy, Sid Bream, right? So Sid Bream only got into 19 games, had 36 at bats. So you can really see who the starters are, decide who you want to bring in, that kind of thing. And what we want to do is we want to transfer this information onto our starting lineups. So that's the process that I wanted to show everybody is how do you go from this to playing a game? Okay, so that was a lot of lead up to tell you this is how we play games. And we're going to start with Pittsburgh because they're the first ones here on the sheet. So first we have Barry Bonds, and Bonds is here. So he's and I just kind of round these things up. So he's a 15 for his batting runs. I'm just going to put those here. So 15 on his batting runs, and he's a 30 for his defense. Now you could write that in as 30. For the most part, I only play with the plus and minus, so you can see some of these people are minus, and that means he's 30 runs better than average. And it's about 10 runs for a win. So he's about 3 wins better just because of his defense than the average player. So you're gonna win 3 more games because Barry Bonds is playing left field for you, or was he? Yeah, he's in left field. So you're gonna win 3 more games just because he is in left field playing defense. So that's essentially how you translate that defensive stat. Um, he's 3 wins better than an average player. That's what it is. Okay, so we're just going to say a plus, and that's what I like to do. I just like to go with the plus, because really for me, that's the only thing that matters. Is it a plus or minus? You could also use this actual number to do all kinds of things. You can create outfielder arms, or you can uh, do any number of things to modify how defenses play. That's sort of largely up to you. And then I just round, so a 6 on his speed. 6 is warranted because he had 32 stolen bases to only 10 caught stealing. So anything 1 to 6 is going to be a stolen base for him. 7, 8, or 9 is going to be caught stealing. So good speed for Bonds. We all know that. Leaned is here. Minus 25, minus, and 5. So we say minus 25, minus 5. Reynolds should be toward the top. A lot of your starters are going to be toward the top of your team list, so that it sort of separates it out that way. I'm just going to give him a 1. It doesn't really matter whether there's a 0 or 1. So 1 plus 6, and I'll just round that right up to 6. So you can see I'm just filling in the batting runs, defense, and speed. And those are the values that we need in order to play. Bobby Bowe, 30 minus 5. Glenn Wilson, a right-hander. Hopefully we have Glenn Wilson. Am I missing him? I may not have him here. He might have been traded. there's a group of players that are at the top of the there's a group of players that are at the top of the very top of this whole list of players, and um, they're on the sheet. So if you see someone and you can't find them, they're on the sheet. They're just in the transactions at the top because they're players who played for two different teams. So let's see if we can find Glenn Wilson. Let's see, Mookie Wilson. There he is. Okay. So you can see here, Glenn Wilson is here. And this is at the very top, so Atlanta is the first team. But you see these guys don't have a team per se. That's because they played for multiple teams that season. So if you find someone on your lineup that's not on the roster sheet, then check this group of players at the very first, because he's here. 6.8, 12, and 3 is what he is. So we'll just say 7 plus 3 for Glenn Wilson. DiStefano is here. He's we'll just say 0 minus 2. Ray Quinones. Let's see another one who was traded. Maybe so. Let's look on our sheet over here. He is. So Ray Quinones is here. He's minus 15, minus and 2. Minus 15, minus 2. So these guys were here. Obviously, this is April 26th, so they started here, and then they got traded or let go. Junior Ortiz is here. Junior Ortiz is a minus 12, minus 2. And then Doug Drabeck. So even the pitchers are going to have been given values. So, and the pitchers all have different values. So let's find Doug Drabeck. Right-hander, he's a minus 12 plus 1. Okay, and so he's got his value there. If the pitcher is a particularly good hitter, then that will be reflected in his batting runs. And that's how we do that lineup. And then we got San Diego here as well. So hopefully I have all the San Diego players. If not, I can look them up. Robbie Alomar is here. So 7.6, 4.85. So 7 plus 5 is Alomar. Randy Reddy. Okay, and he may not be on there, so let's look on our sheet here, see if we can find Randy Reddy. There he is. Okay, so you can see he's here, and he's a 10 minus 4. This obviously doesn't take this long. I'm walking you through this, and so it takes a little bit longer. Tony Gwynn is a 24 minus 6. And Jack Clark. Jack Clark, 32. We'll give him 33. -3. So some pretty big boppers there in the middle. Benito Santiago. Catcher is here. So he's a -7 plus, and we'll give him 5. -7 plus 5. He was, he had good legs. Carmelo Martinez is a -4 or -2. John Kruk. Kruk was a free agent. I saw him before, or he got traded, I guess. He's here. So Kruk, you can see, is there. 15. Oof, -18. And 5. 15 -5. Gary Templeton should be on here. He is. -13 plus 2. And then Bruce Hurst. Hurst is the pitcher. And let's see here. He's down here. -11 plus 1. And it's important, some of the pitchers have better run ratings, and that's important on things like ground ball double plays, possibilities. And so, you know, if he's a 1, there's only one opportunity to beat it out at first. If he's a 2, there's 2 opportunities to beat it out at first. So it can matter that they're each individually different. Okay, and then the last thing that we have is I also printed off the pitchers, and I'll straighten up these score sheets when we get the game going. But we have Bruce Hurst going for San Diego and Drabek going for Pittsburgh. So we want to find Drabek, who's here. His FIP is a 376 and his stamina is a 28. So on this type of score sheet, I would just write it right here in the notes. So what did I say? 376 and then 28. Okay, so this is how many batters he can go before he needs to be dropped down a column. This is which column on the game engine chart that he'll be pitching out of. He'll be pitching out of column 2 for the pitchers. Bruce Hurst, 296 FIP and 30 is his stamina. So it should be a well-pitched ball game. I don't expect it to be very high scoring with two guys pitching out of the first 2 columns. Hurst will be pitching out of the first column, which is pretty tough on hitters. Okay, I need to go and get the game engine chart for the 1980s, and so I will go and grab that. Okay, so I'm back with the 1980s game engine chart, and you can see that here. We have our game all set up, and we are ready. Hopefully that looks good on camera. Everything seems fine. This is going to be a game between the San Diego Padres and the Pittsburgh Pirates, 1989. One thing I did want to point out is I found my 1990s game engine chart as well. And the cool thing about these game engine charts that are by decade is you could mix and match them. You could play this game with the 90s chart. You could play it with the modern chart. You could play it with a chart from the 1960s and just see how these guys are playing based off of sort of normalized outcomes from those particular eras or decades. So as soon as I get everything out, I'll make these game engine charts available. Right now, the only way to get each decade is to buy the decade, so I haven't gotten that far yet. But when you play on-base baseball with the charts, just off of a score sheet like this, so we've taken all of our data, we've transferred it to our score sheet, and now this is really just the setup and the footprint that we need. We have the on-base dice roller here. We have our score sheet with all of our values listed that we need to play the game. And then we have the one chart that we use for everything. It's got all of your sort of special plays down here. Um, for the pitchers, uh, for a FIP or a Sierra of 0 to 3.5, they're going to be pitching out of this column. So that's going to be Bruce Hurst. He falls into that range here. For a 3.5 to a 4.25, that pitcher is going to be pitching out of the second column, and that's going to be Doug Drabeck because he's got a 3.76, so that's more than 3.5. You can see here that there's not many outcomes here. That's because this is basically league average. Whoever's pitching in this column is essentially the league average of all batters. This column and this column, the third and fourth, you start to get to sort of bad pitchers, right? So 4.25 to a 4.75 is a little bit worse than here. And you can see they give up more home runs. They give up more walks and fewer strikeouts, and fewer strikeouts here as well. So instead of a strikeout, they give up a single. But they don't give up as many walks as this section here because this is a single, this is a walk. So they're trading strikeouts for walks, and they're trading strikeouts for walks here as well. And here they're trading outs, double, fly out, ground out. They're trading them for home runs. So home runs go way up here. Home runs go up somewhat here for a 3.4 and a 2.4. I'm sorry, a 3.3. So home runs go up somewhat here. They go up quite a bit right here. And what I've tried to do is to compare all of these columns, each column separately. I compared it to all of the hitters in the major leagues. So if the major league walk percentage on average was 8, then I would compare this column of pitchers for that whole decade, 80 to 89 for this decade. I would compare that whole group of pitchers who were in this FIP range against the major league average over that span of time, over that decade. And if the average walk rate for these pitchers was 6, then I need to work it out so that there are fewer walks against the average. So you can see here that there were actually maybe I was taking away hits or home runs here. So that was a way to add walks, but take away home runs. Okay, this is a way for me to take away home runs and add strikeouts. So I think the home run numbers were just way down here. Strikeouts. So they're trading walks and home runs for strikeouts. So there's the opportunity where these pitcher results, outcomes, cancel out whatever's over here because you don't get past this point, right? So you take this instead of taking any of those. So that's how you kind of think about how the pitcher is affecting the game. And then here, they're obviously not affecting very much. There's fewer strikeouts because they're taking a strikeout here and it's turning it into a ground out. But otherwise, you're getting sort of the league average for these. So they were only they only had fewer strikeouts than the league average. And then here, they have more walks, fewer strikeouts. They give up more home runs than the league average. So I'm looking at home run percentage, K percentage, walk percentage, and cursory at hit by pitch percentage, although that doesn't necessarily change a lot over the course of things. Although here the hit by pitch percentage must have gone up quite a bit because I added that part in instead of just a walk. So that's sort of how all this works. And I've heard some people say, well, I wish there was more interaction between the pitchers and the batters. As I've played it, as you play it over time, you'll realize that the pitchers sort of sift themselves out over time, and they begin to behave like they behave. Now, this is based off the DIP system, so defense independent pitching stats. It's a methodology, really, of looking at gauging pitchers and how effective a pitcher is or how valuable a pitcher is. Really, that theory says pitchers only affect home runs, strikeouts, hit by pitch, and walks. Um, they don't really affect many other parts of the game, although that's been debunked a little bit that it's not true that they don't affect any parts of the game. So that's why a new stat, Sierra, has been put into place to try to look at those things that are in the DIPS methodology, but also add in some more intangibles to truly try to get a gauge of uh, which um, which things pitchers can affect and what they are affecting in the ball game. So they're going to be very similar, but they won't be the same for any particular player. Okay, so that's how this all works. That's how we break it down. If you need things like doing error checks or sacrifice bunts, if you have a hit by pitch, or it kind of explains what this BB-2 is. Strikeouts, you can do swinging and looking if you want, and these are sort of based off this D9 roll, which is going to be this last one. To play, you need 2D6s and a D9, or you could use a D10, and then if you get a 10, you just roll again. A lot of a lot of people don't have a D9, which I totally understand. I get. That's why I made this dice roller, so that you can just roll without having to go out and pay a bunch of money for a D9 or a bunch of obscure dice. But you can also use a D10, so it's perfectly substitutable, and D10s are easier to find for most people. So, but it is an important thing because there are 9 positions on the field, and the outfield positions are broke up 3-3-3. The infield positions are broken up so that the second baseman and the shortstop get the majority of the ground balls, which is totally realistic. And so, trying to use a number that really doesn't make you do too much gymnastics with your mind. That's sort of where we are. And the D9 is also used for base running and fielding as well. Okay, excuse me. So I think that we're ready to start. That's the full setup. Obviously, it doesn't take this long to get set up because I'm walking you through everything. But that takes you from this sheet of data, transferring that over to a scorecard. And then your footprint is really just what we see here. It's the chart, the game engine chart, and the scorecard. And really, that's what we have. All of the decisions can be made off of the D9 and off of the outcome or the game engine chart. Hopefully we can see everything well. All right, so let's play this game. This is San Diego at Pittsburgh, 1989, April 26th. So played, I don't know, whatever that is, almost 25 years ago. And Robbie Alomar is going to be leading off. It's going to be Randy Reddy and Tony Gwynn, and they'll be facing off against Doug Drabeck. So in order to play on-base baseball, you got your roll. You have 2 D6s and then your D9. We have, the way you read it is the lower number first. So you can see here, these are our rolls. So you can see that the lower number should always be read first. These all reflect the same thing. They're just easier to read across the page. You're going to start over here on the pitcher's side always, and move to the batter's side if there's a blank. So we have a 4-6, and a 4-6 is here. Doug Drabeck is pitching out of column 2. So we say a 4-6 to column 2, and it's a blank spot. And so we just keep on trucking. So Alomar is a 7. So we're going to 4-6, and then he's batting out of this column here. So this column is -5 to +10. This is +10 to +30, and then 30 plus. And then this is less than -5. So if the number is smaller than -5, you want to look in this column. If the number is between -5 and +10, which is most batters, it's going to be in this column 3. If the batting runs is from +10 to +30, and that range is here. So the majority of your batters are going to be in these 2 columns. And these are your sort of MVP type players. You can see Jack Clark is the only player. Oh, Jack Clark and Bobby Bonilla They're the two players who get into this column here, but otherwise, this is your Bonds. These are all-stars and almost superstars, maybe superstars who didn't have the best year. These are superstars, MVPs. These are sort of average guys, and these are definitely below average players. So that's how they break down. Same thing over here. These are your Cy Young type candidates who are going to have ERAs in the threes and the twos. These are your number 2, 3, 4 kind of guys. These are your 3, 4 kind of guys. These are definitely your 5 and terrible kind of guys. Um, so our first roll is a 4-6. Nothing off the pitcher's side. If we had cards, it would be off the pitcher card. So I had a question about that too. How do you get these columns? Well, these columns are represented on the cards. You just don't know. You don't see everything all at the same time. So what's on the card is just what's in a column. So if there are outcomes on, let's say, Mike Trout's card from 2019, they would be the outcomes here in this column. It's just I've taken these and I've put them onto the card itself. So you don't see those things, how they all play together unless you use the game engine chart. But that's how they all sort of interplay with one another. So I had to do some different machinations for, pitchers getting tired and batter splits, and there are some different things you have to do when the outcomes go right on the cards. But the problem with putting outcomes on the cards is that I have to go through each one of them and make sure that it's evened out to the player, right? So I can use these generic outcomes, but it won't be evened out to the player. And even using the game engine chart, it won't be sort of tailored to the player. But the advantage is I can crank out things like these decade roster sheets, or I can get cards out much more quickly and without as much stress with 900 players having to individually manipulate the outcomes for 900 players. So it was pretty laborious and was taking, way too long to be able to do that for me. So being able to print out and use this as sort of the main outcome center, and then only changing the values is much easier for me. So that was why I made that switch with the 98 set. Okay, so 4-6 is our roll. Robbie Alomar is a 7, so he's batting out of this column, and a 4-6 to a 7. That's going to be a double play or a strikeout with no one on base. Obviously, that's going to be a strikeout. And because it's a 9, it says here 1 to 6 on a strikeout is swinging, 7 to 9 is looking. So I'm going to give him a K looking, and Drebeck gets him probably with that nasty hook that he used to throw, and freezes Alomar for out number 1. Next batter is Randy Reddy. He's a 10, batting runs. So there's a 3-6. Again, we start with the 3-6. If this were Bruce Hurst, then that would have resulted in a walk, but instead it's Drebeck who's pitching out of column 2. So we got nothing. And a 3-6 to a 10. Remember, he's hitting out of this column now. 3-6 to a 10 is a fly out, and that's a fly ball to center field. So you see here 1 to 3 is to left, 4 to 6 to center, 7 to 9 to right. So fly ball to 8. So even though this is a 6, we're putting an 8 because that indicates which fielder we should be looking at. Those little things take some getting used to, seeing this die for what it is and what it represents instead of what actually the number is there. It doesn't always represent, it's not a fly ball to the shortstop. Okay, so 3-5, 3-5 to Tony Gwynn. So nothing here, and Tony Gwynn is a 24, so 3-5 is going to be a strikeout. And that's going to be a strikeout swinging. So Doug Drebeck with a 1-2-3 first inning as the Padres go down, no runs, no hits, and no one left on, and we go to the bottom of the first inning. So this will be Bruce Hurst. Hurst is pitching out of this column. There's a 2-5 and a 2-5 to a 15. So there's nothing there, and then a 15 is in this column. This is Barry Bonds. So Bonds hits one. It's a flyout with a plus. Now you look over here. Plus is an error check. So it says roll the D9. So we're going to roll again. If the player defensive value, which is this value here with the plus or minus, if it's a negative, then there's an error on a roll of a 1 or 2. If the player defensive value is positive, then there's an error only on a roll of 1. So we have hit a fly out here. The fly out is to right field, so down the right field line, because 7, 8, or 9 goes to right field. So there's a fly ball to right field, so we want to go up and look at our right fielder. That's John Kruk. Kruk is definitely a minus. And so if we roll again, and this is a 1 or a 2, then that's going to be an error on John Kruk. If it is a 3 or greater, then he makes the play. It's a 4, and so he does get there and make the play. And that's out number 1. So that's how errors work. If he had been a plus, if we had hit that to, well, they don't have any. If he had hit it to Barry Bonds, then Bonds would have only made an error if the roll was a 1. So if it was a 2, he still would have made the play. So that's how sort of good outfielders, good fielders, and bad fielders are separated in the game. Okay, here's a 1-3. This is to Jose Lind, and a 1-3. To Lind, who is a minus 25, so he's definitely in this last column as a hitter. And a 1-3 is going to be a ground out, and a ground out to 4 is just what it seems like, 4-3, so to the second baseman. And R.J. Reynolds, the center fielder, comes up. He is a 1 batting run, so he's in this column. Here's a 3-6. 3-6, like I said, from Bruce Hurst, who's pitching out of column 1. 3-6 is going to be a walk, so Reynolds takes a walk here. He's at first. His speed is a 6. We're just going to go ahead and try to steal. He's got a 6 out of 9 chance. So what is that? Almost 70% chance of making it. And the way stealing works is roll the D9. So we're going to roll again. If the roll is higher than the player's speed value, then he's out. So if it's a 7, 8, or 9, then he's going to be out. If you want to steal third, then you subtract 1 from the player's speed value. So he would become a 5 if you want to steal third. And if you want to steal home, he would become a 4. But the mechanism still works the same way. So if he's a 5 stealing third, anything 1 to 5, he's safe. Anything 6 to 9, he would be out. So you drop a little bit on percentage when you try to steal third or home, which is how it should be. So we want to try to steal second base. We're going to roll again, and we're looking at the D9 number, this one. If it is 1 to 6, then he's going to be safe. It is a 4, so that means that Reynolds steals the base safely. And now if you wanted to steal third, you would need to drop this speed to a 5. So 1 to 5, he would be safe. We're not going to do that with Bonilla. Bonilla is hitting out of this column, and he has a pretty good chance at a hit. Here's a 3-3, and a 3-3 off the pitcher is going to be a strikeout, and here's where you see the value. So a 3-3 for Bonilla would normally have been a double, but because he is pitching out of this first column, and you can see there's not much going on here. There's a home run and then blanks. You know, it would have been a double for these pitchers, but because he is a great pitcher coming out of this first column, had a great season. I don't know if he's a great pitcher, but he had a great season. Then it gets the strikeout instead, and that's a 7, so that's a strikeout looking. And Bobby Bonilla goes down, and so do the Pirates in the first inning. So no runs on no hits, and 1 left on as second base, waiting to be knocked in. So I'm going to not do quite so much explaining through here and more sort of gameplay. But that's generally how the setup works, and I'll explain any extra things that need to happen as we go along. You can see here that there's 1, We're going to run into a long single at some point, like here with an asterisk, and I'll explain that. And then we'll run into a ground out as well. So if the D9 is a 1 to 6, you just match the position. So 1 is a pitcher, 2 is a catcher, etc. For a 7, it's going to be a shortstop. If it's an 8 or 9 on the D9, then it's going to be to the second baseman. So shortstop and second base are going to get two opportunities each. Actually, a second baseman gets 3. Maybe I should change that. I don't know. I'll have to see. But on lineouts, if it's the D9 is a 2, you can't line out to the catcher. So then we're going to change that to a pop-up to the catcher. So those are the only sort of rules that I'm covering up over there. And these literally are what you have. If you want to bring more things into the game, feel free to. If you want to bring in mechanisms from other games, some guys love to do that, and this game definitely is very flexible. It's more, think of it more as a game engine, as a starting place for you to play a game and add on top of it. In the second inning is going to be Jack Clark, Benito Santiago, and Carmelo Martinez. They are going to be facing off against Doug Drabeck. Here's a 3-5 to Jack Clark. 3-5 is here. Clark is a 33. So a 3-5 to a 33 is going to be a walk. So Clark is on first. His running speed is a 3, so I would not steal. That's only about a 35% chance of making it. That's not good enough for me. Santiago's a -7, and so we look at a 26, and a 26 to a -7 goes all the way here. So it's to be a ground out with a plus, and that's going to be an error check again. So that's a ground out back to the pitcher. Does the pitcher make the play? He does. And on double plays, this is how I like to play double plays. So we're going to go, I like to assume the out at second. So I give them an automatic at second. So he's out on the fielder's choice. So we're going to go 1 to 6. And then I'm going to roll against Benito Santiago's speed. This is where I told you the speed can come in, even if they're not base stealers necessarily. Anything from a 1 to a 5, he's going to be safe at first. Anything 6 to 9, he's going to be out at first for a 1-6-3 double play. So it works. The mechanism works a lot like stealing, and it tells you. Actually, it doesn't tell you on here. But it's basically the steal tag extra base, very similar to that. But this is how I do double plays. You can roll against each person. You can roll here to see if Jack Clark beats it out to second base. 1 to 3, he would beat it out to second base, and then roll against this guy and see if he beats it out. Some people like that. I like to just go ahead and assume the out at second base because it's almost always going to be an out at second base. That's a 4, and so that's less than 5, so he does beat it out, and we'll just say 1-6 on the fielder's choice. So they get the guy at second, they don't get the guy at first, and now there's a runner on with Carmelo Martinez to the plate. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bunt with Martinez, and I'm going to let Crucker hit behind him because he's hitting out of this column. Martinez is hitting out of this column. And you can see just with home runs, 11 is not as good a chance as 33. Technically, they're the same. But in reality, not necessarily, although they both have the same strikeout rate, so I wouldn't expect a home run for either of them because he's going to negate the home run for them. But there are advantages definitely to hitting out of this column over this column that don't just have to do with home runs. So I'm going to lay down a bunt with Carmelo Martinez, and to bunt, it says roll the D9. If the roll is a 1 or a 2, then the bunt is unsuccessful, and I typically call that a K, like he strikes out, runner stays at first. You could also say it's a fielder's choice. They make the out at second and just switch runners, whatever you want to do. So it's a 4. The sacrifice is successful. And that's out number 2. And that brings, oh, yeah. Sorry. It's out number 2. So the sacrifice is successful. Runner at second now, 2 outs, and John Kruk to the plate. There's a 1-2, a 1-2 to Kruk, who is a 15. It's going to be a ground out. A 1-2 is always going to be a ground out with the runner advance. So it'd be a ground out to the shortstop. So we go 6-3 on the put out, and that's the third out of the inning. No runs on no hits for San Diego. So that's how you do the sacrifice plays. Very basic. Again, you can bring in something less basic if you want to, but just for playing the basic game, it's very easy. All right, here's a 2-4. That's going to be a Glenn Wilson. Glenn Wilson is a 7. Hurst is coming out of this first column here. So a 2-4. Last time I was playing with Kruk up here, I was thinking Drabek was coming out of this first column, but he was pitching out of the second column. So it really did make sense to give up, to try to get Kruk up there with the home run on the 33, because look, there's nothing. This is the column that Drabek is pitching out of. So I was wrong. He wasn't going to get a strikeout. He could have hit a home run there. So we're sort of trading possibilities here. All right, Glenn Wilson is a 7. It's a 2-4. And a 2-4 to a 7 is going to be a double play or a strikeout. That's going to be a K with nobody on base. And he strikes out looking against Hurst. Next batter up is Benny DiStefano. DiStefano, a 2-6. He is a 0, I believe. That's what that's supposed to be. A 2-6 to a 0 is going to be a ground out. And that's a ground out because it's a 9. It's a ground out to the second baseman. For the next batter, it's Ray Quinones. Quinones is a -15. So we go a 2-4 again. Nothing here. And for a -15, it's going to be a double play or a strikeout. So 2 strikeouts in the inning for Hurst. He has 3 on the game now. So no runs on no hits go the Pirates in the bottom of the second. Top of the third, it'll be the bottom of the order, Templeton, Hurst, and then Robbie Alomar. Here's a 4-5 to a -13, and that's going to be here. I told you we'd run into a long single, so here's a single with an asterisk. So this is a plus, and this one is an asterisk. Also an asterisk here. And what that means for a long single is that if the player's speed value is greater than or equal to 6, the player who hit the long single, then then the players on base, if there are any, take an extra base. And the batter takes an extra base. So basically a long single is like a big long single to the gap, where they're kind of chasing it down with their back to the infield. They get to it before it gets to the wall, and a player who doesn't have very good speed is going to stop it first. But a player with really good speed, 6 or more, is going to turn that into kind of a hustle double. But even a player who doesn't have good speed, if he hits it in the gap like that, the guys on base are going to be able to go first to third. They're going to be able to go second to home. They're going to be able to take 1 extra base than they might normally take if it had been hit right at an outfielder. So that's the concept for a long single if you want to try to envision it in your mind. So this is a long single for Gary Templeton. His speed is only a 2, so that's not going to be a double for him. And it would turn into a double. So if his speed value is greater than or equal to 6, then he takes the extra base. And if you think about it, it's not an error on the play. So it's not a single and an error, it's a double. But then if there were other players on base, then you would want to, if there was someone on first, he would have gone first to third on the play. Or if someone was at second, he would go second to home on the play with, automatic, no No need to check the player's speed or anything like that to take an extra base. So that's the concept for a long single, and that was something that was suggested early on by uh, Tony Porter from Cards and Dice TV, who played this very early on. So big thanks to him, and I've finally gotten that into the game. Now the pitcher's up. He's a -11. We are going to bunt with the pitcher. I've already showed you the mechanism for that. So 1 or 2 is an out, not an out. I mean, it is an out, but it advances the runner. So runner is second now with 1 out, and it's Robbie Alomar. A 3-4 to Alomar. He is a 7. So what does that do? A 3-4 to a 7. That's going to be a long single, so that's going to score our run from second. Remember, on a long single, he takes 2 bases. And Alomar is a 5, so he's going to stay at first base. And San Diego takes the lead, 1-0. So that's going to be an RBI. Single RBI for him. Brings us to Randy Reddy. Randy Reddy's a 10. Here's a 2-4. And a 2-4 from Doug Drabeck is going to be a ground out. It would have been a ground out anyway, but it would have been an automatic double play. But as it is, we need to roll for that double play now. So a 2-4, it's a grounder to the third baseman who plays at position 5. The third baseman's defense doesn't come into play unless there's an error. So we're just sort of assuming that he's going to make the play. So again, I like to assume the out at second. So he's going 5-4, and then we're rolling against Randy Reddy's speed here, which is a 4, and he beats it out. And so that's going to be a 5-4 fielder's choice. So 2 outs, already 1 in the inning, and it is Tony Gwynn to the plate. A 3-6 to Gwynn, he's a 24, and a 3-6 is blank. 3-6 to a 24. Oh, he misses the home run just barely. He hits a fly ball, hits it deep to center field, and just misses. That's going to be caught at the warning track as the crowd sighs a sigh of relief. So 1 run for San Diego on 1 hit and 1 left on in the bottom of the third. So 1-0 San Diego. We go to the bottom of the third, and it's going to be for Pittsburgh at the bottom of the lineup. Junior Ortiz, Drabeck, and Barry Bonds back to the top of the order. So a 2-5 to a -12. 2-5 to a -12 is going to be a fly out with an error check. So that's a fly ball to center. No error on the play. And who is that makes the play? Center field, Tony Gwynn is in center. So Gwynn makes the play for out number 1. It's going to be Doug Drabeck. 2-3 is going to be a ground out with an error check. Oh, no, it's not. Look at that. That's why you got to check. So -12. Normally it's a ground out with an error check, but here, because of the contextualized game engine chart, it's a walk. So that's a walk to the pitcher. Never good. Brings up Barry Bonds. Bonds flied out to right in his last at bat. There's a 1-5 to a 1-5, and that's going to be a ground out right back to the pitcher. So let's assume that out at second base for out number 2. So he goes 1-6, and then let's see if they can make the turn here. He's got a 6 speed, and he beats it out at first. So we'll say 1-6 on the fielder's choice, and Barry Bonds is at first. Now we're going to try to steal with Bonds. Again, anything 1-6, he's going to be safe, and he does steal the base. So runner at second with 2 down, and Jose lean to the plate. Can he come through with a big hit? A 4-6 to a -25 is going to be a fly out. That's a fly ball, little can of corn to Gwynn in center. That's the third out of the inning. So they strand Bonds at second base as they get no runs on no hits. We go to the top of the 4th inning, 1-0 San Diego over Pittsburgh. Here's a 2-6 to Jack Clark. It'll be Clark, Santiago, and Martinez. Clark walked his last at bat. Here's a 2-6, and a 2-6 against Draybeck is nothing. Clark is a 33, so a 2-6 is going to be a single, and Clark, the sharply hit ball up the middle for a single. I always like to kind of look here and see where did they hit the ball, and sort of use the different things you could say to third, you could say up the middle, whatever you wanted to do. So Clark is a 3, no threat to steal. There's a 1-3 to a -7, and a 1-3 to a -7 is going to be a ground out right back to the pitcher. Again, we'll assume that out at second. So we're going to go 1-6 on the play, and Santiago again. Let's see if he beat it out last time, and he cannot this time. So because this is greater than his speed of 5, he is going to be out at first. So we go 1-6-3 for the twin killing, and that's going to be 2 outs in the inning. Carmelo Martinez, who laid down the sacrifice bunt last time, gets a chance to swing away here. There's a 1-5 to a -4. That's going to be a single, so he makes the best of it. So he's in front of John Kruk. Kruk grounded out to short his last time, 4-6 to a 15. 4-6 to a 15 is going to be a double play or a strikeout. With 2 outs, that's going to be a strikeout looking. And Kruk can't get the shoulder or the bat off his shoulder, or the shoulder off his bat. And so the Padres go down, no runs on 2 hits, and they leave 1 on base. We head to the bottom of the 4th inning. Pirates down 1-0 to the Padres. Here's a 2-6, 2-6 to a 1. It's R.J. Reynolds. And a 1, it's going to be a ground out to the catcher. So the catcher pounces on it, gets it to first for out number 1. And Bobby Bonilla up. He struck out in his last at bat. There's a 1-3 to a 30. So 1-3 to a 30 is going to be a ground out. Right back to the pitcher. So he walks it over and goes 1-3 on the underhand toss to the first baseman and brings up Glenn Wilson. 2-5 to Wilson. Wilson is a 7, so that puts him here. That's going to be a fly out with an error check. So it's a fly out to left center. It's going to be the left fielder. Oh, possible error. So a 1 or a 2. We got to check the left fielder here. Left fielder is Carmelo Martinez. He's a minus, and so that's going to be an error as he ranges over, but it pops out of his glove. And so we go F7 on the play. Oh, should have been the third out. We're going to go E7. E7, and he's going to be at first. So that's going to get a little messy there. E7 to give that a little underline. And runner at first base now is Glenn Wilson on the error. And it's going to be DiStefano. A 3-6 to DiStefano. 3-6 is going to be a walk. Remember, Hurst is pitching out of this first column. So a little bit rattled coming off of the error. A little out of sorts, Hurst is. And he loses DiStefano. So 2 on and 2 out. Brings up Ray Quinones. Quinones is a -15. So a 4-6 to a -15 is going to be a fly out to dead central. Gwynn has a beat on it. With his back to the infield, he ranges back and makes the catch short of the warning track. And that's going to be the third out of the inning. No runs on no hits for Pittsburgh. They do leave 2 on. A little bit of a sloppy inning there for San Diego. San Diego comes into the top of the 5th inning. It's going to be Gary Templeton, Bruce Hurst, and Roberto Alomar. Now let's check out Hurst. He can go 30 batters. He's at 9, 18, 17, 16. He's a 16, so no issues there. Same with Draybeck. Draybeck can go 28, so you got some length with these pitchers, especially in the 60s, 70s, 80s. All right, a 2-5, 2-5 to a minus 13. 2-5 is here, so nothing there. And 2-5 to a minus 13 is a fly out to right field with an error check. No error on the play. Right fielder is Glenn Wilson. He makes the play. That's going to be out number 1. Bruce Hurst gets a chance to swing away. That's going to be a 2-3 to a minus 11. And that'll be a walk to the pitcher. So each pitcher has picked up a walk now. Trying to give you an out and put them on base. Here's a 1-6. A 1-6 to Robbie Alomar is almost always going to be a fly out with a runner advance. So a fly out to very deep right center field. And the fielder stumbles after he makes the play. And the runner advances to second. We'll call it a sac fly. So he advances on the F9, I guess is what it is. So runner is second base, and Randy ready to the plate. He is ready. A 10, a 4-6 to a 10 is going to be here. So a 4-6 to a 10 is going to be a line out or a pop out if the D9 is a 7 or greater. It's a 3, so that's going to be a line out. Let's see where it goes. A line out to the left fielder. And that'll be out number 3. So no runs there for the Padres. 1 left on, no hits. Then we go to the bottom of the 5th inning. Be the bottom of the order for the Pirates. Ortiz, Drabek, and Barry Bonds back to the top. Bonds is 0 for 2 so far. That's a 2-3 to Junior Ortiz. And I think we've proven that that's going to be a walk, so that's going to be a walk to Ortiz. We're going to let Drabek lay one down here, so let's see if he can get the bunt down. He does. And that's going to put our runner at second base with 1 out. So Drabek does his job, and Barry Bonds has a runner in scoring position now with an opportunity to drive him in. There's a 1-4, and a 1-4 to a 15 is going to be just that. So he hits a single, and we can, let's see, not much speed here with Junior Ortiz, so we're going to hold him up at third. Not going to take the chance, because the way we deal with that is that we is similar to a steal. Steal tagging and taking extra bases use the same mechanic, so only a 1 or a 2 he would score. So not going to take that chance with only 1 out and Jose Lean to the plate. Hopefully he doesn't hit into a double play. There's a 4-6, and that's a really good opportunity for a double play, but instead he misses it, so there's a fly out. That's going to be a fly ball to right field, and that'll be out number 2. No automatic advance. If it had been a 1-6, it would have been an automatic advance and a score from third. But as it is, R.J. Reynolds stands in. There's a 2-5 to Reynolds, who is a 1, and a 2-5 to a 1 is going to be a fly out to Gwynn in center field. Gwynn is a minus fielder. Doesn't mean he's terrible. It just means that he's below average, and he makes the play. That was a lot of lead up for nothing. Sorry. All right. So the Pirates get 2 on, runners on the corners, and can't come through with the big base hit, as they get no runs on 1 hit, and they strand 2 in the bottom of the 5th. Might be kicking themselves for that inning. So 18, 19, 20 batters for Drabek, 21 batters for Hurst. We're still in good territory. It's 1-0 San Diego as we head to the top of the 6th inning. There's a 4-5 to Tony Gwynn. This could be some trouble, and that's going to be a long single. Gwynn is a 6 with his speed, so this is young Tony Gwynn legs, and so he on the long single is going to take a double. So Gwynn legs one out, slides in safe at second, and he's at second base with nobody out. Jack Clark, here's a 1-1, and a 1-1 is nothing here, and so Clark is a 33, and that's going to be a walk. So Clark fills in first base, and runners at first and second now for Benito Santiago. There's a 6-6 to a -7, and that's going to be a single or a home run if it's a 7, 8, or 9. And wouldn't you know, Benito Santiago with the bomb. 3-run shot as he laces it to left field. Sneaks over the wall, and that's going to be 1, 2, 3 for the Padres as he drives in both Gwynn and Clark and the heart of the order coming through for San Diego. So a 3-run shot makes it 4-0 San Diego over Pittsburgh as Benito Santiago drives one deep off of Doug Drabeck. There's a 1-4 to a -4. 1-4 to a -4 is going to be hit by pitch or a walk. So if it's a 2, if it's a 1, it's hit by pitch. Otherwise, it's a walk. So another walk from Drabeck. And he is really struggling at this point. So there's a 4-6 to a 15. 4-6 to a 15 is going to be a line out or a pop out if it's a 7. It's going to be a line out to the center fielder. So the center fielder is Reynolds, and he comes in hard on it. And that's going to be the first out of the inning. Keeps the runner at first base. Already 3 runs in on the Benito Santiago home run. There's a 4-5. 4-5 to a -13 is going to be a long single. And so that's going to push the runner to third base. He has only a speed of a 2, so he'll stay at first, but it is going to push the runner to third. It's going to be first and third with 1 out. And I think at this point we gotta bring Drabeck out of the game. So let's see who we have here. Here's the pitchers. Let's check. So Bill Landrum is going to be your closer. You have your game started here. So Doug Bear would be a good one to bring in, or Bob Kipper, Mike Smith. So not too many games here. This says San Diego. So your best bets are going to be Bear or Kipper or Smith. Let's go ahead and bring Doug Bear in. Actually, Smith. Maybe Bob Patterson. But Bob Patterson, I think he was a left-hander. But I'm bringing him in because he's what are we in? We're in the 6th. He's got a little length to him here. So 12, 9 is his stamina. So he can go a little bit more than just 1 inning. So try to get that out of him. So we'll say Patterson. I believe Patterson was a lefty. I don't know, though. I'm not really playing any splits right now, so it's not that big a deal to me as I'm playing it as it is. So he can go 9. Drabeck goes 5 1/3. I like to just write down how many they go. I'm going to put a little squiggle here just to denote pitching change. Okay, so we got Patterson in the game now. And he's going to be facing off against Bruce Hurst. We're going to let Hurst hit away. Hopefully he doesn't hit into a double play, right? So 1-2 is going to be a ground out, but all the runners are going to advance. So this is going to get a run home. And it's going to be a 5-3 on the put out. So a little ground ball that the third baseman has to make a play on. And that's going to push the run to second. and the run comes in from third, so that's going to be an RBI, ground out for Hurst, and runner at second base now with 2 down. Already 4 runs in the inning. There's a 5-6, a 5-6. So he's pitching out of the second column here, same as Draybeck Patterson is. And it's going to be 5-6 to who? To Robbie Alomar. So 5-6 to a 7 is going to be a strikeout, and that will be an inning-ending strikeout. So Patterson gets out of it. Does give up the 1 run, and it's going to be four runs on 1, 2, 3 hits. So very efficient hitting there for the Padres. And the score is now 5-0 as we head to the bottom of the 6th inning. Bruce Hurst still cruising. He's at 18, 19, 20, 21 batters. He can go 30, so let's see how far he can push himself. For Bobby Bonilla, who is a 30, a 5-6 is going to be a hit by pitch or a walk. So Bonilla takes a walk. Average speed. Not going to try to steal here, down by 5. Let's see if they can string some hits together. It's Glenn Wilson. Glenn Wilson is a 7. A 14 to a 7 is going to be a hit by pitch or a walk. So back-to-back walks for Hurst. So 2 on, nobody out. And it's going to be Benny DiStefano. DiStefano, he's a 0. He's hitting out of this third column. That's a 4-5. And a 4-5 is going to be a single. And a single with an error check. So let's check the error. It's a single to right field. No error on the play. So that's going to be a base knock, and that pushes all the runners up. Sharply hit to right, and no one has an opportunity to score. But the bases are loaded, and it's Ray Quinones to the plate. Another 4-5, 4-5 to a -15 is going to be a long single, so that's a big hit for Quinones as he drills it into the right center field gap, and he's going to go first to third. He's going home for the score. He's coming home for the score, and that's a 2 RBI single for the shortstop Quinones. So big hit for Pittsburgh to get them back into the game. 5-2 now, San Diego over Pittsburgh. So we got us a ball game, and his speed is only a 2, so he's going to stay at first, but it does drive everybody 1 extra base than they normally might get. So good game here as we're in the bottom of the 6th inning. Junior Ortiz up. There's a 2-4 to a -12, and Hurst still pitching out of this column. So a 2-4 to a -12 is a double play or a strikeout. What do we have? We have nobody out in the inning, so we're going to assume this. It's actually just going to be a double play, 4-6-3. So no need to roll for the double play. So that's 1 out, 2 outs, and another run scored. So they trade those 2 outs, trade a run for 2 outs, and that's 3 runs in the inning. It's now 5-3. San Diego over Pittsburgh, but 2 outs in the inning, nobody on now. And the pitcher spot up, we'll have Patterson just hit for himself. What is Patterson? Patterson is a 0 batting runs, so probably didn't get many opportunities to hit, so we'll just hit him out of this column here. A 2-6, and a 2-6 is going to be a fly out to right field, and that's going to be it. So we're just going to call this out number 3. Okay. So 3 runs on 1, 2, 3. Nope, 2 hits. 3 runs on 2 hits for the Pirates, and it's now 5-3. San Diego over Pittsburgh, so we got us a ball game again. Patterson, we're going to leave in the game. He has faced only 2 batters. So this is what we were hoping for, that it could get a little bit of length from the bullpen. There's a 10. Redney Reddy is a 10, and a 3-3. Patterson's pitching out of this column. So a 3-3 to a 10 is going to be a bomb. Look at that. So Randy Reddy, number 2 hole hitter, comes up big. He drives that one to left field for a home run. And that puts San Diego up 6-3 now. Tony Gwynn to the plate. There's a 5-6, a 5-6 to Gwynn, who's a 24. Is going to be a hit by pitch or a walk. It's a 1, so Patterson drills him with a pitch, and Gwynn sits at first base. They're going to go for the throat and send Gwynn to second. Gwynn steals the bag, says, "Don't put me on first," and Jack Clark to the plate. 2-2 to Clark. He's a 33. 33 is nothing. Oh, a 2-2. 2-2 to Jack Clark is a double or a triple. If it's an 8, it's a 1 on the D9. So that's going to be an RBI double. Scores Tony Gwynn from second. So he's home here, and that's a double, and that's an RBI. So Jack Clark with an RBI, he's got 2 hits on the day. He's 2 for 2 with a couple of walks and a run scored. So that puts San Diego up 4-7-3. And here's a 6-6, a 6-6 to San Diego again. Can he go bombs twice? He does. It's a home run if it's a 7. And Santiago, this time, straightaway center field. As he goes, actually, it's the right center field. Huh? So he goes, Oppo, drives in 2 runs, and Patterson is not feeling well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see if he can get out of this inning. He's already, he doesn't have any outs yet, and 4 runs are already in, so it's a rough outing for Patterson. -4, a 2-6 to a -4 is going to be a ground out, so he finally gets an out. That's going to be 3, we'll say 3 unassisted for the first out. A 1-5 to a 15. 1-5 to a 15. That's going to be a ground out to the shortstop. So we go 6-3 on the put out there. And for Gary Templeton, a 2-5 to a -13. 2-5 to a -13. It's going to be a fly out to center, and the center fielder makes a play. So Reynolds squeezes it for out number 3. But the Padres light up Patterson here in the 7th inning as they get 4 runs on 1, 2, 3 hits. 2 of those 3 hits were home runs. One was a double, and home run by Santiago and Randy Reddy. Those home runs probably put the game out of reach. We'll see. It's 8-9-3. San Diego's would go into the bottom of the 7th inning. Barry Bonds up. We flipped the lineup back over. A 1-2 is going to be a ground out to the catcher. Catcher's all over it. It's Santiago. Very good defensive catcher. Jose Leaned up next. Leaned is 0 for 3. This is a 2-4 to a -25. Now Hurst is at 18. What was that, 27 starting the inning, so he's still pitching out of the first column, so 2-4. To a -25 is going to be a double play or a strikeout. Hurst will take the K, and that's out number 2. What happens whenever he reaches his stamina? So let's say 27, 28, 29. Let's say, well, we'll get there whenever we get there. A 1-6 to Reynolds, who is a 1. It's going to be a fly out to center field. We'll touch on on stamina in just a minute because we're going to run into that eventually with him. But 1, 2, 3 go the Pirates in the bottom of the 7th inning. So San Diego up 9-3 as we head to the top of the 8th inning. We're going to leave Bruce Hurst in there because he's reached his stamina at 30. His stamina is 30. I almost always play that if the player is at or below their stamina when they come out the next inning, they stay in the same column. If he was at 31 batters and he wanted to come out the next inning, I would drop him a column to pitch from. So, but as long as he's at or below, I usually keep him in the column. I like a little bit more pitching in my baseball, and so I want to keep the pitchers as good and as fresh as I possibly can, especially the good ones. Okay, so we're going to let Hurst hit away. We need to replace Patterson. Probably should have replaced him long ago. So let's look at our pitchers here. And we're going to bring in Doug Bear. Bear is here with a 3.12 FIP. And 6 batters face. So Patterson goes he gets a 0.2 there, so 1.2 innings. He goes 1 2/3 and gives up a lot of runs. Yeah, we'll see if Doug Bear can do any better. Let's put a little squiggle for a pitching change. And it's going to be Bruce Hurst batting for himself as a 2.4 to a -11. And that's going to be a 3.12. So Bear is pitching out of this first column. So yeah. So that's going to be a double play or a strikeout. Let's give him the strikeout. So there's no double play in order. That's out number 1 for Bear. So Bear against Robbie Alomar. This is the top of the 8th inning. It's 9-3. San Diego over Pittsburgh. Here's a 4-5 to Robbie Alomar. Alomar is a 7, and so that's going to be a single with an error check. So we'll check to make sure that the right fielder made the play, and he does. So that'll be a base knock for Robbie Alomar. He's at first base. Not going anywhere with the big lead. So there's a 1-5 to a 10. 1-5 to a 10 is going to be a ground out to the pitcher. He turns, fires to second, and that's going to be out number 2. And let's see, the speed here is a 4 for Randy Reddy, and Randy Reddy is out at first. So 1-6-3 on the inning-ending double play as Bear makes a good play in the field and gets himself out there. So that's no runs on 1 hit, and the Padres go down 1-2-3 in the inning. So we head to the bottom of the 8th inning. It will be Bonilla, Glenn Wilson, and DiStefano. I told you before that I'm going to keep Hurst in the first column. Here's a 3-4. A 3-4 to Bobby Bonilla is going to be a fly out. And that'll be a fly ball down the left field line for out number 1 as Carmelo Martinez hustles down the line and makes the play. Glenn Wilson, the right fielder, he's a 7. So there's a 4-5 to a 7, and that's going to be a single with an error check. So a single to center. No error on the pickup, but Wilson is at first base. He's gotten on 3 out of 4 times today. And brings up Benny DiStefano. DiStefano, a 2-3 to a 0. A 2-3 to a 0 is going to be a ground out with an error check. So it's a ground out to first base. Let's do the error check first. No error on the play, so the first baseman Clark picks it up. He is going to go to second for 1. So 3-6, and back to, we'll go 3-6-1 on that one. Pitcher covers, and that's going to be out number 2, out number 3, and Pittsburgh goes down in the 8th inning on the inning-ending double play. 3-6-1. Clark Clark to Templeton to Hurst covering first base. So, well played game so far from San Diego. All the scoring is here, and had 8 runs in the 6th and 7th innings, so a lot of crooked numbers there. It's a 9-3 lead going into the top of the 9th inning. Last opportunities for San Diego. It'll be Tony Gwynn, Jack Clark, and Benito Santiago. Santiago has 2 home runs on the day and just keeps driving everybody in here. That's a 1-5 to Tony Gwynn. Gwynn is here. That's going to be a ground out to the shortstop. So Gwynn ends his day most likely with a 1-4. A 3-6 to Jack Clark. 3-6. So Bear is still pitching out of this column. He could go 6 batters, and he's only faced even 4 now. So that's going to be a walk from Doug Bear as Clark gets on. His second walk of the day. That third walk of the day, he's been on base every time. So huge game from Jack Clark. 1 out, and would you believe it? Santiago. It's another 6. And this time it's a single or a home run 7, and this time they hold him to a single. Unbelievably, he almost had 3 home runs in the same game. So that's going to be a single. That'll push the base runner to second base. And this is what happens when you roll the dice, right? He's got one little tiny opportunity for a home run. He just keeps hitting on it. And so it's going to be Carmelo Martinez now. He is a -4 batting runs. There's a 5-6, and that's going to be a strikeout looking as Doug Bear gets him for out number 2. Runners at first and second base. Here's a 1-5 to a 15. 1-5 to a 15 is going to be a ground out. So that'll be a ground out to the second baseman for Crucker, and the Padres go down in the 9th. So no runs on 2 hits and 2 left on for the Padres as Bear escapes a jam there. So he goes 2 innings. And we are going to keep Hurst in the game. So he's going to have to go down. I'll put a little... I don't know how to do it on this score sheet. Normally I put a little line underneath, but just to say that he met his maximum and had to drop a column. So he's going to face the bottom of the order: Ray Quinones, Junior Ortiz, and Doug Drabeck. Actually, it's not Drabeck, it's Bear spot, so we're going to pinch hit for the pitcher. So let's go ahead and face off against Ray Quinones. Quinones is a -15. I think I want to pinch hit for these last 2 guys, maybe. I don't think they have enough pinch hitters to justify pinch hitting for all 3 people, but we'll definitely pinch hit for these last 2 guys. It doesn't really matter which one you pinch hit for. They're all hitting out of this column. I just feel better about Quinones after that single in his last at bat. So here's Hurst. He's pitching out of this second column now. There's a 5-6, a 5-6 to a -15. That's going to be a strikeout looking. And let me see if I can find a couple of pinch hitters here to fill out Ortiz and the pitchers. So what we're looking here is San Diego. So starting here, we want to check out the at-bats. We have Martinez. He's playing. We got Tim Flannery. He would be a good choice. And Mark Parent is a pitcher. Abner, I think, is a pitcher as well. So there's not a lot of opportunities here. Who is this guy? Bip Roberts. Oh, Roberts isn't even in the game. I don't know if he was hurt So let's throw Bip Roberts into the game. He'll be. Oh, it's because I'm looking at the wrong team. This is Pittsburgh. Come on, Brian. All right. Let's see what we get here. Starting here. So maybe let's bring in Gary Redus. Redus is a 14 minus 8. Hope if I bring him in the right place. So let's bring in Gary Redus to pinch hit. And he'll be facing off. We'll keep that right here. He'll be facing off against Bruce Hurst. Bruce Hurst again, pitching out of this column. Let's see if Redus can get something jump started here. It's a 4-6 to a 14. And a 4-6 to a 14 is going to be a line out or a pop out. If it's a 7, it's not a 7. So it's a line out right back to the pitcher. Hurst is up to it, and that'll be out number 2. So let's find another pinch hitter for the pitcher spot. So again, who is this guy? Mike Lavalier. So he is an 8 minus 1. No matter the player's speed, I always give him a 1. He always gets a chance. So I like to do that. Here's another pinch hitter. All right, so last out for the Pirates. They're down 9-3. That's a 2-3 to an 8. And a 2-3 to an 8 is going to be a ground out to shortstop with an error check. No error on the play. Templeton is up with it. Over to first base. Clark squeezes it. And that is the final out of the ball game. So that's going to be 3 up, 3 down. Go the Pirates in the bottom of the 9th inning. So San Diego wins this one 1-5-9 to 3, 9-3 over Pittsburgh. So 1, 3, 6, 9, 10, 12 hits. 1, 3, only 3 hits for the Pirates. There was an error in there somewhere. I can't remember where it was. It's an E7. So no errors for the Pirates, and this error here charged to the Padres. So the line for the Padres, 9 runs on 12 hits, 1 error. For the Pittsburgh Pirates, 3 runs on 3 hits and no errors. This game was played again April 26, 1989. And I'm going to call player of the game as Benito Santiago. Santiago was 3 for 5 with 2 home runs and 5 RBIs. I would say that definitely qualifies. Bruce Hurst throws 9 innings, complete game. Gives up 3 hits and 3 runs. And an excellently pitched ball game by Bruce Hurst. Drabek, not so well. Had a really rough inning here in the 6th, but was cruising before that, really. And just really couldn't even get out of the 6th. Patterson got blown up as well in the 7th. And that was really what did that's what did the Pirates in. This is the fullness of how to go from our roster sheets, which are here, how to take the roster sheets, get the data out, put it onto your scorecard. And if you use you can use any scorecard, but if you use the on base baseball scorecard. It actually has batting, runs, defense, and um, speed. It has those listed here so that you can use those. It's meant to be used with the game engine chart or with any of the values. So you're getting the data onto the score sheet, then you're using the single game engine chart to be able to play the full game. And it plays pretty quickly. I talked a lot through it. It takes a half hour or less for most people to play a full 9 inning game. And you know, if you do minimal pitching changes and things like that, then it can go pretty quickly. All right, but you can see that you have everything available to you. So this is sort of a DIY, as played, replay gamer dream to have all of these players available to you to play any game that you want to. Obviously, you can do as played lineups, or you can make your own lineups, or you can mix and match, however you want to do it. And there are no cards, only the game engine chart to print out. That's all you need to play the game. You can use the dice roller online or roll real actual dice. And then you just have the printouts for the batters and the hitters. You can even keep those. Sometimes I keep those just on the computer, and then I just look at them on the computer. I don't even print them out. So that's one way to do it as well, which gives you some really good functionality to find different players on the page. That's kind of helpful too. I think that's it. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comment section below, and I will get to them as quickly as I can. I know this was a lot, but I feel like people were getting kind of caught on how to use the roster sheets, and so I just wanted to like go through the fullness of the process. Once you get the hang of it, it goes a lot quicker. And I'm really excited about the opportunity to be able to play with all of these different players across history. And the goal is to get every single decade done in Major League Baseball history. So that's sort of the target I'm shooting for. 1950s are coming soon. I've been kind of caught up with the Yaya baseball. But I'll get back to the decade roster sheets and keep pushing those out. Okay, I think that's it for me. San Diego wins this one 9-3 over. This is the '89 Padres over the '89 Pirates, and I think that's where we are with this game.